Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with all council members present tonight. So I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is item 2A, which is special recognition, a proclamation recognizing Black History Month. And we have a shared reading of the proclamation beginning with Councilmember Madrone.
Whereas the City of Olympia recognizes the importance of honoring the history, heritage, and achievements of African Americans and Black communities whose contributions have shaped our nation and local community. And whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson, a noted scholar and son of formerly enslaved people, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History and initiated Black History Week on February 12, 1926, which later expanded and was established as Black History Month in 1967. And
whereas Black History Month provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the many contributions and accomplishments of African Americans and Black community members across all fields, including the arts, education, science, civil rights, labor, healthcare, technology, and the economy, while also reflecting on the continued need to dismantle racism and strengthen our democratic ideals. And
whereas the 2026 Black History Month theme, A Century of Black History Commemorations, marks 100 years since the founding of Black History Week, honoring a century of collective efforts to research, preserve, and celebrate African American history, culture, labor, and contributions, and reaffirming the ongoing importance of education, truth-telling, and equity. And
whereas, as part of this century of Black history commemorations, notable African American leaders have shaped Olympia's history through transformative work in education and community building, including Dr. Maxine Mims, an internationally recognized educator, civil rights leader, and founder of the Evergreen State College's Tacoma campus. Recognizing that Tacoma's Hilltop residents needed access to higher education, Dr. Mims started teaching out of her home before formally establishing the Tacoma campus in 1982. Dr. Mims' decades of leadership expanded access to higher education for working adults in historically excluded communities, strengthened pathways to economic mobility, and cultivated generations of leaders committed to equity, justice, and public service. And
whereas the City of Olympia continues to take steps to honor African American and Black history and presence in the community. These efforts include community engagement and planning for Rebecca Howard Park, named for one of Olympia's earliest African American business pioneers. Together, these actions reflect the city's broader commitment to recognizing Black stories and contributions in our public spaces and collective memory. And
whereas it is important to honor the achievements, joy, and resilience of African Americans and Black community members, while also acknowledging the ongoing collective work required of every community member to ensure equal opportunity for all, recognizing the lasting impacts of systemic racism rooted in slavery, segregation, mass incarceration, police brutality, and health and economic inequities. And whereas the City of Olympia remains committed to fostering an inclusive, diverse, and equitable community in which all residents are respected, honored, and valued.
Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Olympia City Council does hereby proclaim the month of February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Olympia, and encourages all Olympians to recognize and honor the African American experience and to work toward a community and nation where all people have equal opportunity to thrive. Signed in the City of Olympia, Washington, this third day of February 2026, Olympia City Council, Dante Payne, Mayor. So we have a couple of guests here tonight in honor of celebrating this occasion with the proclamation. So we're going to invite up Javon Bird, who is the Executive Director of the Hawk Foundation for Research and Education in African Culture. And we also have Antonio McLennan, who is the Senior Student Mentor Coordinator with Olympia School District. Gentlemen.
First off, I'd like to say thank you, Mayor Payne, and thank you, council members, for this opportunity to speak with you all. Again, my name is Antonio McLennan. I'm the Student Mentor Coordinator here at the Olympia School District. Thank you for this proclamation and for continuing the City of Olympia's commitment to honoring Black history, not only as something we reflect on in February, but as something we live out year-round. Black History Month began as an educational effort, and 100 years later, it still holds true. Here in Olympia, that commitment shows up locally through programs such as the Student Mentor Program, where we support high school students, middle school students, as well as elementary students. And most of the student participants represent an underrepresented ethnic group. In a time when conversations around diversity, equity, and inclusion can feel uncertain or contested, mentorship offers us something grounded and actionable. Again, I just wanted to say thank you for the commitment, as the Student Mentor Program is a representation of how this proclamation can be seen in action. So thank you all again.
Thank you. Hey, Javon.
Hey. On this 3rd of February, the first week of Black History Month, I have to remind myself to control the boiling in my blood. I have to remind myself that those committed to fake smiles and gestures of reconciliation are not interested in justice. Healing to them means assimilation. It means Black people proving we are palatable to the expectations of white domination, sometimes with the BIPOC face at the front of it. I hear white liberals crying that we are living in unprecedented times. They say they've never seen federal force weaponized against people. I hear BIPOC folks saying, after they come for everyone else, Black people will be next. We've been first, middle, and always last. After Bacon's rebellion in 1676, when poor whites and Black people teamed up to challenge the ruling class, the colonies needed a scapegoat. They needed a force to unify under, because they could not risk poor whites partnering with Blacks again. So they criminalized Blackness. They codified it into law. They built a system that required the permanent dehumanization of Black folks. Under this caste system, all white immigrants had to do to gain power was give up their cultural heritage, Irish, Spanish, French, Italian, and embrace whiteness, tainted with the blood of indigenous people. And for whiteness to exist, it must be juxtaposed against Blackness. That covenant was sealed with blood. The death of Crispus Attucks, a Black man, the first one to shed blood in the American Revolution, did not secure freedom for Black people. Instead, it secured the terms of white supremacy. While America denied full membership to those without white skin and European features, other groups learned something dangerous. If they become willing participants in anti-Black racism, they too could gain access to privilege. Some were even rewarded with titles like model minorities in exchange for anti-Blackness. Shoot, even Black people from African and Caribbean descent have tried their hand at anti-Black American racism, hoping proximity to whiteness might buy acceptance. But hatred is unpredictable. Like a forest fire, it spreads faster than anyone expects, and it consumes everything in its path. White, Asian, Latino, everyone. So no, these are not unprecedented times. This is white hatred grown too large to be sustained by predominantly Black blood. I see tears now, the fear, the panic. Black people had to wade through this, carrying on fear for centuries. Victim Olympics, please. The field was paved and the arena built on the backs of my people. We didn't come here as immigrants searching for opportunity. We are human trafficked. This country was not built by immigrants. It was fueled by the blood of indigenous peoples and built with the souls of black folk. And you thought inviting me here today, did you think that inviting me here today, you taught a big Negro a lesson? You thought I'd come back humbled, corrected? Do you think my ancestors care about the discomfort of a racist council member? Victim Olympics, trust me, the reason America is calling on black people
Mr.
to
Byrd,
fight
Mr.
is a
Byrd,
journey.
Mr. Byrd.
What you're witnessing now is the result of the normalization of anti-blackness.
No, Mr. Byrd,
now,
I'm going, thank you, but I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm going to have to stop you there. Thank you very much. So,
Power to the people.
thank you.
Power to the ancestors who sacrificed their blood.
Mr. Byrd, Mr. Byrd, Mr. Byrd,
We will never be dehumanized.
we are in recess. We are in recess.
Thanks everyone for your patience. Let's go ahead and take a 5-10 minute recess.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and return. But before we carry on with the rest of our agenda, I need to address what just happened in the chambers. Mr. Byrd, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that I have never been disrespected by anyone in this city than in that particular moment, right here in the dais in this room, by another black man on Black History Month. Never. This is not a, no. This is not a back and forth. I am not going to tolerate disrespect in the chambers.
I go home to my black wife and my black children. What do you go home to?
That's fine. That's fine.
There's a reason they feel comfortable with you, so don't you dare try to call me out. I didn't call nobody out. I just said something.
Mr. Byrd, you're still proving my point. You are still proving my point.
My point, because you like to use people like you to stick them on us.
Anyway, I want everybody in the community to know that this is not representative of what Black History Month is about. This is not representative of what Black History Month is about.
Good job, Dante.
Mr. Byrd.
Good job, Dante. Congratulations. We need to give you a plaque for white supremacy. Good job.
You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want.
You can say whatever you want to.
Mr. Byrd,
Good. Mr. Payne.
I am not going to allow you to disrespect me or any member of this council.
I didn't disrespect anybody.
Calling a council member a racist in public is disrespectful. You are out of line. You are out of line.
Did I say anybody's name up there? Yes or no? Did I say someone's name?
Anyway, at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion. I'm going to entertain a motion to amend the agenda. We have an executive session on the agenda for tonight. We are going to go ahead and take advantage of the opportunity, if we approve, to amend the agenda and go to that executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have public commenters. Is that what I hear you saying, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, if we could move to public comment. We also do have an event for Black History Month, and we could share that and go to public comment.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I would be more than happy to share that under reports. Unfortunately, I think the moment of celebrating this moment has passed, and we all need to just take a moment. And so I will mention the details of that event under reports. But for now, we need to move on to the agenda. So why don't we go ahead and move to public comment? And Mayor Pro Tem, you have the list in front of you. And for those of you who are here for public comment, those of you who are watching at home, my sincere apologies to you for witnessing the lack of decorum that is in the chambers tonight. Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, I believe there was a motion, so whoever made that motion, please withdraw it.
Withdrawn.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have some public commenters signed up in person. I'm seeing some duplicate names online, so I'll go ahead and try calling folks in person first, and hopefully they're here with us. So we have Tom Crawford, followed by Lewin Merrill.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And I will first off confess to being one of the duplicate names. So I'm obviously here in person, not online. So thank you very much. Members of the Olympia City Council, again, my name is Tom Crawford. I'm a board member and volunteer for Thurston Climate Action Team. Thank you for your support of TCAT's work over the years and for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As I'm sure you're aware, the climate crisis is dire, and it's getting worse. Whatever we can do now to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and protect our people will prevent deaths and unnecessary suffering. As the saying goes, the best time to take action was yesterday. The second best time is right now, today. I understand you are all in agreement with adopting the residential energy performance rating and disclosure policy. That's very positive. It will save home buyers money and encourage reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Our local Central Labor Council has endorsed the measure, and I have it on good authority that a number of local real estate agents also support the measure. I believe You have also received several comments in writing about this matter. Since this is intended to be a regional county-wide policy, I understand you also have concerns about whether to wait for other jurisdictions to adopt this policy before Olympia does. I urge you to adopt this ordinance right away and set the effective date as soon as possible. There's no need to wait on other jurisdictions because of cost. Cost is minimal, especially when considering the cost of unchecked climate disruption. Olympia adopting it will encourage others to follow suit. In the past, Olympia has been a first actor, a first mover in our region in adopting progressive climate policies and declarations. Let's continue that tradition with this ordinance. Thank you very much for your consideration and for your service to the Olympia and Thurston County communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lewin. I'm a born and raised Olympian, and I'm here to talk to you about adopting the Home Energy Score Ordinance and scheduling a vote on it immediately. It is part of the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan, which was adopted in 2021. It's been 5 years, and this is one of the primary points on that plan. And so I am asking you to adopt this ordinance. It's a practical step towards a better future. And the people of our city were promised that steps would be taken to mitigate the harm caused by climate change 5 years ago. We deserve what was promised, and we deserve to know the efficiency of the homes that we live in, which this ordinance will allow us to understand. The ordinance costs are negligible. Do not give up on a better future for the city. Do not give up on climate mitigation, and do what was promised. Please schedule the vote for the AGS. Thank you for your service and your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Kylie McQuarrie.
I'm also one of the duplicate names. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's all right. No need to confess.
Thank you. Let's see. I'm sure you all know by now that the Timberland Regional Library has announced budget cuts and is planning employee layoffs starting as early as February 15th, which is the deadline for employees to volunteer to be laid off. I understand that the City Council has no direct influence on the Timberland Library's policies or budget. However, TRL is a public institution that employs hundreds of locals. Many employees who work in rural branches live in Thurston County. Therefore, a sudden reduction in library workforce would have direct negative consequences within Olympia's city limits. Since TRL is a 5-county system, local employees who work, eat, and shop near local branches would be forced to travel outside our county to continue their careers, taking both their spending money and expertise elsewhere. During a time of economic upheaval and national reduction in government services and jobs, I believe it's more crucial than ever for our local governments to retain employees whenever possible. Again, I understand that the City Council isn't directly involved in the library's decisions. However, since the issue directly impacts Olympia, I wanted to invite the City Council into the conversation. Specifically, I would point you towards the FAQs published today on the library's budget and finance page. The page on staff reduction is the most confusing and least defensible, offering nothing more than vague sentences and circular logic that uses upcoming layoffs as justification for decreased library services. Information on administrative raises and start-of-the-year budgets are also, again, misleading at best. I am organizing with other concerned members of the public and speaking with the Board of Trustees to attempt to protect jobs while preserving crucial library services. After speaking extensively with current and former library employees while reviewing financial documents myself, I'm confident that jobs and library services could be retained without a levy lift as long as crucial changes are implemented at the administrative level. I know this city believes strongly in the values championed by our public libraries, and I hope you'll join me in preserving essential public service jobs to avoid negative impact that staff layoffs would cause in Olympia. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have James O'Barr, followed by Terry Ballard.
Thank you, council members. I'm here to speak on behalf of and support the climate mitigation plan and the hopeful enactment of an ordinance which would require all the homes for sale in our county to have a home energy audit. And it seems like a very simple and uncontroversial idea, especially if we take seriously that we're in a climate emergency. That is a term that I hear spoken, but it's not, it's rarely spoken in a way that suggests we're in an emergency. It's almost passed off. But it was very interesting to me to observe the discussion about Black History Month. And I think that, at least for me, this is the mitigation of the enslavement of Black people in this country has never really been, we've been struggling with it for what, 400 and some years? And we still haven't resolved it. We're still struggling. I think if we take seriously the fact that climate is truly an emergency, then we have to treat it that way, and not deal with it the way we have dealt with the enslavement of Black people in this country. So I urge you to take this seriously and to take climate seriously.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Terry Ballard.
Good evening. Before I begin, George Washington Bush was my hero. He's never mentioned in Black history. I'm just saddened by that all the time. My name's Terry Ballard. I own 5 acres in Olympia. I've been kind of stepping you through this. The county and district debt is up to $101 million. That's where I got the Ole School District debt of $102 million off the sheet I provided you on the county treasurer's site. Limitation on used or borrowed money. Unused money is to pay off the debt. So if you don't use the money for its intended purpose, bonds or anything that you do, you have to put it down to the county debt or the debt that you have, and it pays down the debt. Capital projects must be on a capital facilities plan the year before. It's not done that way in Thurston County. National Association of Counties, Stevens County went ahead and fired 3 county prosecutors. That was their county prosecutor. Ours is not as bold. He doesn't follow the law. He doesn't quote law. He doesn't extend the courtesy to the commissioners, and they're voting on something they don't understand. Email from Washington State Attorney General is in this packet that I gave you. Okay, it says that I have to provide my own lawyer service to go against, to uphold the Washington State Constitution and its laws. I'm saddened by that. Now we have two buildings that are just bought by the county. One is $34.9 million of the Plum Street. It's, you guys won't even move there. Okay, that's one, and that wasn't on the capital plan. The next one, just to finish up, the next one is $42 million for a sheriff's building that's in Tumwater that should be in the county seat, which was established in 1861, and Tumwater took them to court when they tried to move Superior Court
Thank you,
to
sir.
the Tumwater facility. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have your information here that you've shared with us. Thank you.
All right, and that's everyone for public comment, Mayor.
Do we have online comment?
No, they were so enthusiastic, they showed up, and that's great.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you. Okay, so that concludes public comment for tonight. Are there any comments from council? Councilmember Gilman.
I appreciate and support the calls to act on the home energy score. And I'm glad for the comments we've been receiving, and glad that the same folks are reaching out to each of the jurisdictions, who hopefully will all move together soon on that. So that was encouraging to me. And then I just want to mention, Mr. Ballard had said that George Washington Bush is never mentioned in this celebration. And this month, the governor's mansion has huge prints of Jacob Lawrence. Did a series he called the George Bush series that shows the westward journey of George and Isabella Bush. And those are on display in the governor's mansion, including public tours next week on February 11th from 10:30 to noon. So there is a big gesture of acknowledging George Washington Bush's pioneering in our community here. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. Any additional comments? Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool.
I also support the energy score. I've been waiting on this for a minute, and hopefully our neighboring jurisdictions will be ready to come to the table. I'm going to let folks know that folks that have commented and have emailed us, that reminded them that the climate collaborative will be meeting on February 23rd at 4 p.m. You can look that up by looking up the Thurston County Climate Mitigation Collaborative and going on there to find information for the meeting. I hope that folks will come and comment, and hopefully we can come together and have something passed very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilmember Vanderpool. Are there any additional comments from council? Okay, thank you, sir. Public comment is typically not a back and forth, but we hear you, so we'll see you next time, okay? Although next week is not a business meeting, so it's a study session, so, yes. Okay. All right, are there any additional comments? If there are none, okay, that concludes our public comments section of the agenda for tonight. I'm going to return back to the comments that I was trying to get across earlier, because I think it needs to be said. First of all, I want to offer again my sincere apologies as to what just occurred here in the chambers a moment ago. I am trying really hard to stay calm, but I am furious about what happened here. And I think it's really sad to see what was supposed to be a celebratory moment, which was to recognize Black History Month with a proclamation and share that with our community members that are hosting an event in partnership with the city to celebrate the month, unfortunately has gone awry by hijacking the moment and disrespecting a member of the council. It is inappropriate, and it will not be tolerated. You respect members of this council to respect you when we approach you. You will do the same when you come into the chamber. That is just simple human decency. And if we can't do that, then we certainly won't sit here and continue to be disrespected. And so I just have to say that, because it's not fair. We sit here and we take a lot, and people don't always say things that make us feel good, and we know that. But calling people names and being disrespectful and disrupting a celebratory moment is unacceptable. And so I just want to take this time to say, council members, I'm sorry that that moment happened. Mayor Pro Tem, to you in particular, I'm sorry that that happened. But we will celebrate Black History Month anyway. And so I guess I will just take this moment to talk about the event. So there is a event that is happening this month on February 20th, ironically enough, hosted by the Hawk Foundation in partnership with the Olympia School District. In the event, Javon Bird is the event coordinator. And this event will feature a planned program with Dr. Joy DeGrew, who is an author. She wrote the book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and she's come to Olympia before for one of our Black History Month events. Renowned professional who is a wonderful researcher and academic and social worker, I believe, in this space. And so we very much look forward to welcoming her back to Olympia in celebration of Black History Month. And that event, I believe, will be from 9 a.m. to 3. It's an all-day event. So please attend if you can. And I promise it will be nothing like what just happened here. All right, so are there any additional comments? Yes, Councilmember Gilman.
I'm very much appreciative that we took a paragraph of our proclamation to recognize the contributions of Dr. Maxine Mims. I had the good fortune to both work at the Evergreen campus at the beginning of the campus and have her mentorship, and then to work with her in recent years as a council person. And I'm so grateful for the way that she had both love and power, and the way that she had wisdom and curiosity together all through her life. And we are recognizing her here at City Hall with a portrait that's in the second floor in the mezzanine area lobby for this month. And so there's a little story about her as part of that image, and I'm very grateful that we're giving her a special shout out. So.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. Yes, Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I just wanted to respond to you, and I know you sat up here and apologized to all of us, and I just want to extend that same apology to you. Tonight, you know, this was supposed to be a celebration of a month that's an invitation to all of us to better learn not just Black history, but how do those of us who do not identify as Black, you know, what are the ways that you know, we have benefited from a Black history that has you know, yeah, just where do we sit with all this? And so as I was sitting through that, I just want to acknowledge, like, I don't know how to be the best ally in a situation like that, but I just want you to know that you know, it's not for any of us, but certainly not you as Olympia's first Black mayor, and you are so out front about who you are and your history, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and please just know that you have my support, and I appreciate that this came forward as a proclamation, and I look forward to the rest of the month being slightly less stressful and hopefully more educational.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. I appreciate that. Thank you. I also just kind of wanted to say something that I was thinking of saying anyway, you know, about Black History Month. Is it's so important more now, more than ever. Our country is, we're living in a moment where Black history is literally being attacked and erased. And it's important. All the more reason why I'm upset that this moment was disrupted and interrupted, because it's so important that we recognize Black History Month for what it is and the significance of it and why we do this year after year after year. It's because of moments like what we're living in right now, where people are actively trying to erase the contributions of African Americans in this country. And we do have to continue to lift up the successes and the contributions of Black Americans in this country. And yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, especially because it is the 100th anniversary, as the proclamation states. And let's all do our part individually to try to learn more. I'm constantly learning about the contributions of my people, things that I didn't know before, and the ways that it shows how this country certainly would not be without us. And so I'm just very upset that that moment got interrupted and took away that point, because it's an important one, especially now in the times that we're in. So please, everybody, continue to just educate yourselves and inform others about the significance of this month and what it means, not just in February, but all year round. All right, so we are going to move on to adoption of the consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any requests for comments, for polls, or questions on the consent calendar? Yes, I am going to ask, yes, just making sure, but I am going to ask for the chairs of our committees, who happen to be all on this side of the dais. I just realized that. To please speak to the work plans that are part of the consent calendar on the agenda for tonight. And we will begin with the work plan for community livability and public safety, item 4B, who is chaired by Councilmember Danny Madrone.
Yeah, really happy to speak to our work plan. And we can already go ahead and put a check next to January 28th. That meeting already happened. Some of the things I'd like to highlight out of here is that, well, for one, we have a pretty heavy early part of the year, because we go through all the interviews to recommend to the council appointments to our various advisory bodies. So you'll see that for the first part of March, it'll be a couple nights in a row of doing interviews. We also have some work around our council-appointed advisory bodies, and just in terms of evaluating where we're at with those, and we'll be digging into that next month. We also are going to be making recommendations on the future of PBIA, the Parking and Business Improvement Area. We got a briefing on that. I'll go into more detail in reports. But I'm really excited to see that work moving forward. And it looks like, you know, our things lighten up for us when you look on the second page, but I just wanted you all to be aware that we've got several items on our items to be scheduled list, and that's not necessarily the docket for next year. We have 4 items specifically, the top 4 items that we are going to get to those this year. We just didn't know the timing for staff, but they're there ready to be plugged in as staff are ready to bring them forward to us. And we also have 1 item on our work plan that is a referral from Councilmember Green that is on the pedestrian safety and tools to reduce speeding. So that is coming forward to us in August, and I know there's a lot of interest in that topic. So I'm happy to answer any questions about our work plan.
Thank you, Councilmember Madrone. Are there any questions? Oh, Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Just a question on what you left off with at our last meeting. We were staff was going to look into if it was possible to move it up in August. Was it decided that it wouldn't be possible?
I think staff are still looking into that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We just talked recently, so
I see.
You know, and I've got to check in with Mark Russell before too long, so I'll make sure to check in directly with him.
I see. By August at minimum is what you're saying.
It
could be sooner.
It absolutely could be, yes. I mean, and that's how it is with all of our committee work plans, is the work shifts and moves around as need be. What we're pretty much voting on tonight is that these are the topics, and they will fit where they fit.
Got it. Thanks. I know there's a lot of interest in that one.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to 4C, which is the Finance Committee's 2026 work plan, who's chaired by Councilmember Clark Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. So our committee is asking for your support to approve the work plan that's in the packet. And I'm going to just briefly focus on the budget path, because I think that's, I mean, you're glad that we're looking at investment policy and some other things, but really the budget is most of our work right now. Our reductions and the new revenue that we put in place last year bought us some breathing room, but we're dealing with greater uncertainty of what might happen than I think in any recent years. And the priority-based budgeting is shaping up to really be a tool. Not only we focused on finding efficiencies as we were first looking at it, but it's also the way to say that we want to, by whatever means we can, deliver priority services to our residents, that this priority-based budgeting is about meeting the priorities of the community. And that's the lens that we'll take across this year. In April, we get to look at some preliminary 2025 year-end closings. So we're going to look at how we did last year. We start in April then. In May, we're going to review the budget planning process. In August, we'll see preliminary capital facilities plan and operating budget proposals as they've been shaped by executive staff and department directors. And then in September, we're going to look closely at special funds like Inspire, Home Fund, Lodging Tax, the homelessness and housing budgets. In October, we'll talk about revenue, most specifically property tax. And then in November is when we'll consider and hopefully make recommendations to council on the budget proposals. So that's sort of the shape of the year, and that'll be the majority of the work that finance will take on this year. And I welcome any questions or additions from my colleagues on the committee.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. Questions or comments for Councilmember Gilman? Councilmember Madrone.
I hadn't even raised my hand yet, but the Mayor Pro Tem saw my itchiness. I'm curious because the CLIPS work plan has recommendations for Inspire Olympia funding in May, and you all have Inspire Olympia scheduled for September. So are you guys just taking like a higher level look at that program? I just want to make sure we're clear, because sometimes something ends up on 2 committee work plans and we're like, wait, who's doing what here?
We're looking at the whole the whole constellation of special funds of not general fund revenue at that meeting. So we're not debating or considering specific grants that might be made, where you are going to look at proposals for funding that might be made through the program. And we're just looking at administrative costs to date, how much of the fund has been dispersed, just at that very high level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. So we're going to move on to 4D on the consent calendar, which is the 2026 work plan for the Land Use and Environment Committee, which is chaired by Councilmember Robert Vanderpool.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on kind of the bigger items. Land use does a lot throughout the year. We usually have the largest amount of work. I mean, I was just on my one-on-one today with the city manager, and he gave me the work plan by department, and I think it's ironic that it has just as much work as the city manager's office going on. So just point that out, that we have a lot going on. So this is just an order throughout the year. There's just some of the highlights, bigger items. So we're going to be doing interviews for the hearings examiner soon, which is very important work. We have a couple people who have filled out applications, so that's new, because past years we didn't have very many applicants, and so I'm looking forward to that work. That does a lot of decisions on land use that the council doesn't do, but the hearing examiner does. So that's a very important position. Manufactured home preservation is going to be coming up 3 times this year. This is a policy that kind of came out of a lot of the tenant protections work, and is something that there's been a lot of legislation at the state over the last few years on, and I'm very curious to see where that goes. There's many members of the community who have emailed over the years. There's been multiple community events at the Olympia Center for feedback on this. So I expect a lot of work, policy work coming out of that. I have Plum Street, and I also have Southeast annexation. I bring up these at the same time because of the staff workload. We'll be having a council study session on Southeast annexation soon, and that will help guide whether or not we do the Plum Street, because it will require a lot of the same staffing. And if we pursue annexation, the Plum Street plan will have to come after that because it'd be the same staff doing the same workload. And so I just want to put that on everyone's radar as we have that conversation, that one follows the other, depending on what we come to at a study session. The sidewalk repair policy, this is coming back because we are a mostly new group this year, and this is about looking at priorities on our sidewalk repair for the crew that is going to be hired. Where should we prioritize first? Downtown, near bus stops, transit areas, different neighborhoods, trying to figure out, because we've done the report, we know where all of the indicators are throughout the city, and just trying to figure out where do we prioritize, and that will be a very important piece of policy. And then we have some work around land banking. This is just looking at where properties in the city that we own over the years and what are we doing with them, and having conversations about, we usually do affordable housing projects on those. I'm looking forward to eventually having conversations with the school board and with the port, and trying to bringing that in there too for those joint meetings, because that's something that I'll be very interested in thinking about as we think about our housing policies. And then we have the Black Home Initiative. This is something that we signed on to last year. Last year, it wasn't 2 years, it was last year. Just moving forward to see where we are with policy on that. I'll be excited to really dig into that and see what we can do with staff policies we can work with staff on. And then we have urban forestry management. This is something we just got public comment on this last week, and just kind of having that conversation about the planning, right? And really getting into that and seeing what are other cities doing, and really meeting those needs. And then we have small scale commercial standards. That's also just thinking about some of the work that we've heard from the community this came out of last year's conversations. Just kind of thinking about where we are with that. And then downtown commercial vacancy, just thinking about the in the same vein but a different part of town type of thing. What do we do? How do we, what's the carrot and stick on making sure that we can meet our vacancy in the city? Because if we have vacant stores, that affects the businesses that are down there, and it affects people wanting to come downtown, right? You're walking along and then you have a vacant lot or a vacant store, and they'll turn around and go the other way. And we need to make sure that people walk in any direction downtown. So yeah, those are just the highlights of some of the things that we're working on this year. There's much more. I had a longer list, but I thought I'm not going to make this drag on any longer.
That's appreciated. All right. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Vanderpool? Yes, Councilmember Madrone.
Gosh, I'm looking at this long list of things you'll have to work through, and I'm like, I chose a good time to come off the land use committee. Just kidding. Actually, I'm looking through this and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be engaged as deeply in this work as I used to be. And I see some very busy staff here, so I appreciate the whole, what you just offered on like Plum Street versus Southeast annexation. Like we still have some decisions to make there involving staff resources. I did want to know, I see the food system plan is on the to be scheduled. That referral is designated to come to the full council. That's work that it touches all of the committees, and so that didn't get designated to any particular committee. So just wanted to name that's something that is as it's moving forward will come to the full council.
All right. Any additional questions or comments? Yes, Councilmember Gilman.
Just to briefly respond, that in our conversation at land use, we thought it was valuable to leave it on that to be scheduled because there may be specific policies, a set of actions or policies related to land use and environment that might help facilitate implementation of that plan. So it wasn't so much about considering the request for proposals or the report or stakeholder group, but once that's done, or once that's moving, are there actions we can take?
In which case, I'll say then every committee should add it to their to be scheduled list so we can just get this done and then move it forward.
Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool.
I mean, you got a good point. I mean, if we have to be able to fund it, right? Does that mean finance? Yeah, yep.
All right. Well, if there are no additional questions or comments, those are all of the requested pulls for tonight on the consent calendar. We do have a motion and a second. So if there is no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, consent calendar is adopted. Okay, so we have no other business for tonight, so that takes us straight into council reports. I'll begin with just a brief mayor's report and just state that for the first time, we actually had a legislative day on the Hill as a city, and just this past Friday, and I believe it was a success. And so very grateful to Capitol Path and to Susan Grisham and all of our executive staff. Jay, all of you, thank you so much for helping arrange that day and also for preparing all of the materials so that we could get up on the Hill and advocate for our priorities this year. Specifically, for those of you who maybe aren't following, the Deschutes Estuary Restoration Project, also for progressive revenue capabilities, if you will, and then also for housing and homelessness response, specifically for operating dollars to continue operating the permanent supportive housing sites that we have, and also legislation regarding SITLI ordinances for cities, which is something that we were also speaking with our legislators about as well. And so that was something new that we're trying a different approach here, and I think it went well, and I think we'll continue to make tweaks and adjustments in future years. But it was good to spend some time together up there, and look forward to doing it again. And thank you all for everybody that participated and went up and advocated for our priorities. I also want to mention that the Olympia Downtown Alliance had their annual dinner last night, awards banquet, if you will, highlighting the successes of our downtown businesses. And for those who, one of the things I love about ODA is you get to see how our downtown business owners do so much more than owning a business. They are truly members of this community who contribute, who give their time to this community to make it better. And so it was wonderful to go and celebrate them and lift them up and offer some remarks, and then also to see folks receive awards for what they've done for Olympia. So it was lovely to go once again and provide remarks and celebrate the Olympia Downtown Alliance, who we certainly could not have downtown look the way that it does or feel the way that it does, or just the entire experience the way that it feels without the Downtown Alliance. And we so appreciate their partnership and look forward to doing more together with them in the coming year. And also I have a request that I wanted to mention tonight. So I recently was looking into some things that other cities were doing in response to federal immigration enforcement, and stumbled upon a few actions that other communities are taking. Most recently, specifically the city of Seattle and the new mayor there. One of the actions that they're taking is the idea of restricting or banning ICE on city-owned property. And this is to keep them from stationing their vehicles or anything like that on our properties, in our parks or near our buildings or anything like that. And I'm very, very intrigued by this action. And so I am requesting that the city manager look into this, of course, with the support of all of you. But I would love to see the city of Olympia join that list of cities who is prohibiting any of that activity on our property, because we will not be complicit in enforcing their just inhumane, horrible, and illegal federal immigration activity. So if there are any comments in support or opposition to that, I would love to hear them, but I am asking for the city manager to look into that for us. So if I hear nothing, I'll assume that's a thumbs up, but okay. All right, I'm seeing thumbs up. Mayor Pro Tem, you had your hand up. Did you want to offer comments or?
I mean, I guess I could. I think super thumbs up. Yeah, it almost feels silly to say that, right? Or do a thumbs up for it, even though we usually do it because it is such a big deal. And I just appreciate the, you know, we already do things as a city, as a sanctuary city. And we still see all of what's happening unfold in the news, and some right here in our community. And so continuing to look into and being strategic, being creative, and doing what we can, even at this small, you know, municipal level of government. I just really appreciate that. And this is something that I know we're looking into it first, but my understanding is that it would be not just this council chambers, but it would be all city property, and I'd be very much in favor of that.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Barron.
Thank you. I totally support this, and I think it's the direction we need to head in and do everything we can to exclude the activities that we find so abhorrent. I did want to recognize that the city just published a paper which I have already started utilizing personally, which is a summary of resources about what to do if ICE shows up. And it has a number of actions on it, and it also has a number of QR codes that takes you to other resources. And so I want to thank the team at the city for getting right on that and producing that. It's something that we spoke of last week. And I was really pleased to see it turned around so quickly because the community is really calling for this. And anyway, I just wanted to recognize that resource that was developed by the executive team of the city.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, and I'm going to ride that gratitude train for a little bit. That's a very important document that got out really quickly. And I appreciate, Stacy, I know that you were leading on that, so thank you so much for getting that done and getting it out to our community members. And for those of you who are maybe just listening and not watching, it looks like we got that approval unanimously from council to have the city manager pursue that, so thank you. All right, and that's my report for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and start to my left with Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, I participated in a couple of things that you mentioned, the Olympia Day, Legislative Advocacy Day. I also attended the Downtown Alliance event last night, which was wonderful to learn about everything going on in the downtown community. In addition to that, I had the pleasure of spending an hour with Desiree, the executive director of the Downtown Alliance Association, in her office, where she briefed me up on all the great programs they have going, the flower baskets and the winter lights and cleaning programs that we partner with them on. And so they do a lot of things that I think the community would be really interested in. I just wanted to recognize that. I met with Craig Chance at the Thurston County Housing Authority and learned a great deal. Understanding all of the housing resources that are available because of the housing crisis we have is, I think, really important. He said that the Housing Authority has between 500 and 600 units in Thurston County, and they provide 2,000 housing vouchers to county residents, which it was really great to have a clear understanding of the work they're doing. I participated in the point-in-time homeless count that took place last week, and was touched by it, really. I interviewed personally 5 homeless individuals, and it was at the Salvation Army offices on 5th, was the place where I participated, and it was very very important for me, very enlightening, because it was clear that in these cases, 3 of the 5 had lived in their cars for, well, 2 of them had lived in their cars for over 3 years, and 2 others were living in their cars for shorter lengths of time, and a woman had just been evicted. But they all were people who had behavioral health challenges, let me just say. And I'm not talking about drug or alcohol. I'm just talking about forms of mental illness, frankly. And so that was very enlightening to me. Anyway, thank you. I think that will do it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Barrett? All right, seeing none. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
I actually do have a comment for Councilmember Barrett, just really quickly. Just thank you so much for diving in, and love to see you already out in the community and making the most of, I think, your role, and I bet you're learning a lot and also meeting new people, even though you've been in our community for some time now. Yeah, I understand you took a number of meetings for Day on the Hill, so thanks so much. No, nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to thank you for approving the resolution in the consent calendar declaring an emergency for the flooding on 28th leading to Aztec. That's been a real concern of mine, and I'm glad that we'll take at least some immediate mitigating action there. But I'm going to save my other reports and use my time here to just say as clearly as I can that I am honored to serve with Mayor Dante Payne. I strongly support his leadership, his competence, his thoughtfulness, the content of his character. And I also appreciate his leadership as somebody who's been working on belonging and confronting anti-Black racism. I think we've benefited from your leadership, the Black Homeownership Initiative specifically last year, but more broadly on our trying to do what we can at the city level to dismantle the structural and institutional systemic racism that's in our community and in the broader society. So I wanted to appreciate those efforts and tell you that I'm very proud to serve alongside you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I just wanted to say hear, hear to Councilmember Gilman's remarks. And another thing that I thought of, that I think the list could go very long, but I also, in the short time I've been on council, your passion and leadership around reparations and how from the municipal level we can do that work. You've been a big champion of that, and I don't hear that a lot in other communities in our area, so kudos to that.
Thank you. You guys are trying to make me cry. I'm very emotional tonight. I think I've been through all the emotions tonight, but thank you so much for your words. It means a lot. It really does, especially, it's not easy to do the work and take all of the criticism that you get, as I'm sure we all are familiar with that, but we do it anyway because we know the benefit of what we're doing is far greater than anything that anybody might say to us on any given night. So thank you. Thank you for your words. All right, Councilmember Vanderpool.
All right. I'm going to try to dry things out as dry as possible by talking about housing, the Regional Housing Council. I was elected chair of the Regional Housing Council. That was, yeah, that'll be a good year. We got an update on the Continuum of Care program, which is a federal program. It's not vouchers. It's a program that goes straight to providers in the community. Usually in the past, this program was a year by year, but the last presidential administration made it biannual because the approval rates are usually 90%, right? And that's not to say 10% people get kicked off of this program, but that's usually because they fall into other programs, other support, because these are folks that are people that are living with lifetime disabilities, people that are dealing with chronic homelessness. These are folks that anything from rent support to housing to help fill in what housing vouchers don't do. So this is a very robust program. Well, they got a notice of funding opportunity in November that the current administration would reduce that 90% to 30%. And these are programs that were pre-approved already. Now, the state of Maine is in a lawsuit, and I'm hoping that that lawsuit goes by to allow for the funds for those programs that are already there. This is, another example of it trickling down into the local, right, of federal changes that affect the local, right? These are programs that help folks. Commerce handles ours because the way it works, the way it was described to me, kind of in short terms, is that the program is handled by most of the counties by Commerce, handling it from the federal government through HUD to the providers. And then Pierce, King, and I think maybe Snohomish have their own individual boards that handle that funds. But for us, it affects about a little over 3,000 people, and then it goes into different buckets from there. I just wanted to mention that we got an update on this. I told them to let us know if something happens, because we already have a lot of budgetary constraints, and if this program goes away, there's going to be a lot more people in a much worse off situation that we usually don't, as a regional housing council, manage. These are going straight to the providers and not through HUD vouchers or through our programs. We also had a funding discussion. We have a lot of new members on Regional Housing Council, and so there's a lot of learning and figuring things out right now, and there's a lot of catching people up to speed. But we agreed to forward the letter to the three cities. I saw a draft of it today, responding to some of those needs, and the other steps we're still going to be working on about Quinn Street in February, and prioritizing a process going forward and trying to figuring out what to do. It's a lot of trying to look at what we have in reserves, but also thinking about where we are with the state to ensure that we continue to have those programs going forward. But we did pass some of the Thurston Affordable Housing Advisory Board opportunity request and the Homeless Service Advisory Board's emergency fund request. These are just some of our providers requesting some funding that we usually would pass through. No issues. We ran out of time because we went over actually by about half an hour because it's a very new process. We have a lot of new board members, and so there's going to be a little bit of onboarding at the same time of dealing with a very tight budget, which is a interesting time to be in. But Franz Anderson, permanent supportive housing, there's going to be a little bit of delay because there were some concerns about the ILA. I don't know if the senior manager will, I don't know if you wanted to give an update on that at all, but that's essentially we will come back in February, and hopefully we don't get any more delays, but there's some concerns around the ILA.
Thank you. I can jump in there. So as council knows, we have an agreement with Low Income Housing Institute, Lehigh, to provide the housing. The short end of the story is they need to change the mix of units based on their financing. And we're having that discussion with all the funding partners because it is a change from how everyone agreed to first fund the projects. I think what I heard at the Regional Housing Council is everybody's on board. Lacey wants a little bit more time to understand the change in mix and whether or not it does or does not require a change to our interlocal agreement. So I know there's some discussions happening next week. I'm in touch with Rick Walk, Lacey City Manager. I know that their council is having a study session next week. So I may need to be over there next Tuesday versus being here to help with that conversations, but I'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you, Jay. And then later last week, I had a opportunity to go to the Olympia Community Solar Annual Celebration. It was really nice to see where the dollars, where a lot of that work is going, and some of the programs that they're working on, and thinking about how they're handling with the changes in funding, and how they're really continuing to move on and hit it on all different levels, and ensuring that we meet those needs. And of course, our solar on our Firehouse 1 is mentioned in the slides, because that was a fantastic program that we've installed it, and having a net zero building is pretty awesome. And then I met with a few folks from the neighborhood associations just to kind of talk about the forum that happened last couple Saturdays ago. And they wanted to see if there was a way for the council to allow them to come and speak, maybe perhaps in late February when we have our next meeting, and other business, to allow them to come and talk and present the data that they have gathered, because they had over 127 bits of feedback. And I brought this up in agenda setting, and I figured I'd ask my council mates if it would be okay to add that on there and have them submit their presentation to us early, and allow us to answer any questions. I would work with the city manager and those folks just to preview that feedback, and just kind of help us get an idea of what the public is saying. I figured I would ask my councilmates if they were interested in that.
Looks like we have a comment from Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Yeah, Councilmember Vanderpool, are you asking to add everything that was collected from the community forum as a presentation at a business meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I would be in favor of that. And we can work in agenda setting to kind of figure out where that could go. I don't think that you need to preview all of it. And if anything, why do you get to see it first? So I think we can all see it together, and you don't need to do that work. I think we have staff that can help us with that.
Okay, yeah. However you want to go about it, I just want to ask if we want to do that. I mean, I think that it would be a helpful way for us to be informed about where the community is.
Thank you, Councilmember Vanderpool. So it looks like we're going through the same process again, where I think you're looking for a thumbs up about that, or down, but yes, and it looks like you have a comment or a question from Councilmember Green.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Payne. I do have a question, and maybe it doesn't, maybe these two things don't connect, but where my brain is going is I know we also have a community survey coming this year, and I just wonder, what is the level setting expectation of, I think this is, of course, valuable data. They had that forum was really well attended, tons of value in it, but I'm just out loud saying, how does this connect to, I know we're going to do some more formal work around community surveying, but it's not specific to sort of neighborhood level work. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I appreciate you saying neighborhood level of support, because the community survey that we do is much broader than what the survey was done by the neighborhoods. This is asking about specific needs in the community. It's, quantitative versus qualitative, right? This is more of a presentation on where the neighborhoods are. And I will add on to that outside of council, the folks I met with are very interested in using that information to start creating groups within the neighborhoods to think about how do they work on these things on their own, and also try to see what ways they can present that to the city. So this is neighborhood level. This is not like city level. This is more neighborhood level. I hope that answered your question.
I'm just checking in with Councilmember Green. Does that answer your question?
I am satisfied, thank you.
Okay. Yes, and Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer that maybe a preview is necessary. I think if I might offer, it seems like there is consensus that we're all interested in seeing the feedback and doing something with it. Though we don't necessarily need to decide, how it's going to be brought forward in this moment. We can kind of work through the agenda setting process and also see what's there, and if we're able to bring it together with something else where it makes sense or on its own, we can sort of figure that out.
Yes.
Thank you. I think we have a direction.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, and my last item I will say is that the Winter Bicycle Community Challenge has started. So every year it comes by in the winter and then during the summer months, and usually it's just February for the Winter Challenge. We all have busy lives and we run around, but every so often you can get on a bike or borrow one of mine. I have a collection of bikes at this point, and add some more miles to the Olympia team. It's a challenge to my council mates.
Thank you, Councilmember Vanderpool. Just really quickly, I did want to mention in agenda setting earlier today what we talked about in regards to the presentation on the feedback from the neighborhoods is expectation management. Obviously, we've already developed our work plan for this year, so there may be some minor things, but the way I envision it is I think it would be great to receive that presentation this year and then maybe think about as we go into 2027 what might be feasible for us to consider out of that presentation as well. Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
I appreciate you mentioning that because, that was kind of part of the conversation too, is that, what's interesting about this process is that you hear feedback from, different levels of interest. Even the people who spoke at that meeting, it's like some of it is stuff that a neighborhood could do by itself, and some of it is stuff that requires several years of planning as a city. And I think that kind of having that understanding is important, I think. And seeing, what is encouraging me is seeing that the neighborhoods are going to try to work on some of that themselves too, and try to put those into teams, into buckets, and work as much as they can, and I'm hoping that this is a good way to us be good partners in that and ensuring that we meet those needs.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem says she's good, it's getting late, she's yielding. So, all right. Councilmember Madrone.
Well, first I'd like to say ditto to the comments made by Councilmember Gilman and Councilmember Green earlier. I appreciate you, Mayor. The Community Livability and Public Safety Committee met recently, my first time with this committee, and I was chairing it, so that was super fun. I'll just say that, having been in the land use world, like almost completely in terms of my council committee assignments recently, this one really kind of scratched an itch I had to kind of work on different things that were still really exciting for me, and so I really appreciate being there. We are recommending that the council approve the development plan for the Rebecca Howard Park. So that will be coming forward to us. Just want to share a few of the highlights from the purposes and goals to celebrate, honor, and recognize the local history and contributions of African American and Black community members. find common ground with each other through storytelling, performance, and art, provide a safe space for peace and healing, promote equity, respect, and learning, and to build strong connections. So there's a lot coming forward with this. We had a couple of community members who were a part of the process and joined, and they'll be with us in council chambers when this comes forward. And another component of this is in terms of funding and moving forward with actual development of the park. There will be a recommendation associated with this that we kind of bump this project to the top of the list when it comes to applying for grants from RCO. So that's all I'll say. No more spoilers. You guys will get the full presentation when it comes. Also, we had the consultant who's working on the PBIA evaluation come in. The consultant's called Uncommon Bridges. And just to share a few of their values, the way they operate, they spoke of consensus leadership, inclusive process, impactful organizations, meaningful places, and vibrant, just, and thriving communities. And we got a really, really great 101 on these downtown improvement areas, business improvement areas, the history, the enabling legislation, how this has come about in Washington and Oregon, what we're seeing in other cities, the history of our own PBIA, which has been around since 2005. And also has not had a change to their rate since 2005, we learned. So some of the findings, the early findings from this is, that the original structure that we have for PBIA is easy to understand, so that's a plus, but also that the rates have not changed since 2005, not even to address inflation. And also tenant-based districts, they're really challenging to administer. There's a lot of ratepayers. You don't necessarily know they're there until you know they're there. There's no list of them. More ideal are the property-based assessment areas, and we all know that there was a run for a downtown improvement district that was unsuccessful, and that people are feeling discouraged by that. But also that the rates that we collect through the PBIA doesn't really raise enough money right now to justify collecting it. Like, the effort to get the funding is not, the juice ain't worth the squeeze, that's what I'm trying to say. So some recommendations that are, as they currently exist from this, from the consultants from Uncommon Bridges, is that Olympia does need stable funding for place management, that place being downtown. And while it's ideal that would be a property-based assessment, too soon. We just had that effort. It did not pan out. So in the meantime, their recommendation is to try to collect more through the PBIA and to restructure how those funds are administered by bringing in an operating entity. And so their recommendation is, rather than having the city work with the PBIA directly, and then the city is, managing the PBIA, is administering the funds, all of that there's actually a third party brought in, an operating entity that helps take a lot of the work away from the city and brings it a little closer to the community that is being served, which is downtown. They did mention that the ODA could be considered as a potential operator, but they didn't make that as a specific recommendation. They first wanted to talk to the ODA, but they are also just making recommendations to us as a group. And they also suggested that the rates and the budget for this assessment should substantially increase, adjusting based on inflation, and also looking at more equitable models for rates. For example, residential businesses downtown, apartment buildings pay substantially less than, say, a restaurant. And so they're working on refining these recommendations. Next steps around this is they're going to the PBIA in 2 days, tomorrow, February 4th. And they're going to be bringing these recommendations to them and getting their feedback. They're going to be reaching out to the ODA and kind of getting their sense of, how they think that this could pan out for the city. And then it's going to come back to CLIPS for us to hear any feedback that they've received through that additional process. And we will be making recommendations to the council. There's also going to be some conversations with our housing staff to kind of get a sense of like if we're changing rates around and considering like, maybe that housing providers are paying more into the system for a more equitable model. Does that impact affordability downtown? So there's some more research, more digging around that needs to happen on that particular topic. I'll also just share that as the CLIPS chair, that role is the liaison to the police auditor. So I've been in touch with Margot Morales, and we're talking about first getting a meeting on the books with me and the police auditor to just introduce myself as their new liaison, and also talking about what's the frequency, what's the purpose of these meetings, what does the council need from the police auditor? What do they need from us? So that will be happening soon. And then finally, this past weekend, the Legislative Youth Advisory Council was hanging out in Olympia. They brought a bunch of youth from all over the state to get engaged in the legislative process. I was invited to participate on a panel along with Councilmember Gilman and Representative Janice Zahn and School Board Member Gil Lamont. And it was really great. I usually keep my legislative stuff very separate from my council stuff since I do that for my day job. But when the youth knock, I answer. But it was great. And I got to co-lead a discussion group with Councilmember Gilman on social justice and equity with these youth. And it was just really great to hear from them and see what got them so excited to be in the state capitol and advocating for their needs. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Madrone. Questions or comments? Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you. I'm wondering in the PBIA presentation if there was, and maybe it fits here, maybe it fits in the advisory group reconsideration, but was there conversation about the value of having a downtown business sounding board advisory body to us, which is separate from how the dues and the planter boxes get administered?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that. We had quite a bit of discussion on that. The recommendation from the consultants is that the PBIA should serve as recommendations specifically on the assessments, and that the advisory function in terms of the state of downtown is a separate role that is not necessarily, or at least in other cities, it's not done that way. I sense we have some more dialogue as a committee to have on that particular topic, but that certainly came up.
Great. Any additional questions or comments for Councilmember Madrone? All right, seeing none, I'm very excited about the restructuring and how that goes for PBIA, and then the presentation on Rebecca Howard Park Development. Looking forward to that. That's exciting. Thank you. All right. City Manager Bernie.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Well, thank you. So at this time, we are going to recess for 5 minutes, after which we will reconvene for an executive session pursuant to a personnel matter. No decisions will be made. We will meet for up to 60 minutes in room 423, after which we will be adjourned for tonight.